would like you to join me to welcome one of his daughters, Shayma. Mohammed Al-Hanooti is my friend, my daughter, and Sheikh Hanooti's daughter, and I invited her to speak on behalf of the family to let us know Sheikh Hanooti, the father.
Assalamu alaikum. You know, everyone's standing up here and talking about all the things that my father did for this community, and I don't doubt all the things that he did for every one of you in some capacity. But I'd like to just talk about my father as who he was to me. He was a product of war, you know. He was not a gentle man, but he had an experience, a life experience that I don't think I could even ever imagine. But I think he devoted his life to figuring out what his calling was. And I think he figured that out very early. And I think that's such a blessing, because I know so many people who take a really long time to figure out what they're meant to do. And that's okay. Anyway, I say that because I think it affected in a lot of ways the way that he raised us as children. And I think it took a lot of patience and understanding in a lot of ways to really love him. And he was not the best at expressing himself sometimes. Although the past 5 years, you know, my sister and I were talking about this, he knew his time was coming to an end. And subhanAllah, where's Leanne? Where's Leanne? Over there. That little girl is probably, I don't know, him and my mom are tied for being the most loved people in his life. I like to think that he loved me that much when I was a little girl, but I swear that little girl, subhanAllah. When he woke up in the morning, the first thing, Iman, where's Leanne? Bring her. That's the first thing after Salat, of course. When he came home, where's Leanne? Or he'd ask, you know what, Iman, I was thinking of Leanne today, and I thought, and it's incredible because there are all of these people who have all these anecdotes, and he shares them with us, he really does. He brings all of you into our home, and he has for the past, my whole life. But at the end of the day, his family was so much to him. And he told my mother, and I hope that this isn't too personal to share, but he told her repeatedly over the past month that he prays to Allah that he goes before her. And this was not lip service. Anyone who knows the love that my father had for my mother, even though it was crazy and weird and insane, and bless her heart for loving him the way that she has. Those two are, I don't think I'll ever understand a relationship like the two of them. They're a team. And everything that you are praising that my father has done, he would not do without my mother. And I really believe that. That woman today, I know she's sitting somewhere, just keeping it together, because she knows he's exactly where he wanted to be. My dad, the first thing I said when I saw him in the hospital was, he's smirking at us. He's just like, haha, got there before you did. And I don't know, for the first time in a long time, well, it's felt like a very long time, I just feel really peaceful. Almost our entire family is here, and I'm really glad Ali got to make it. For those of you who don't know me, I'm also a teacher, and I'm a high school English teacher, and I just finished my 5th year, and I was overseas in Honduras teaching there at an international school. I told my father this Tuesday, the night before his death, he was jokingly said, he said, "Where are you?" I said, I was here the whole day and I didn't see you. And he said, "I want to see you, not your mother. I have seen her enough." And of course he was joking, and if you knew my father, he had a wicked sense of humor. And I said, I'll be home Saturday. And so I wanted to be home Saturday so badly. Before he died, I just wanted to sit with him and to talk with him, because that is what I loved the most. My God, the conversations with him. Especially as a teacher, he got to share with me all his different, unconventional, of course, approaches to education. And we got to share stories, teaching stories. And he loved literature. You know, for someone for whom English was not a first language, it's incredible, his appreciation, not for the spoken language, but for the literary. And as an English teacher, someone who loves literature, it's so cool that I got that with my dad. The same way he approached literature was the same way he approached the Quran. Analysis, support, analysis, support, analysis, support, and that's the way that I teach my students. To think that way, to speak that way, to write that way. And so we would often, and my mother would join these conversations about literature, because I think that's something they shared a passion about. She was also a teacher, and it's deeply moving, and there are so many brothers today who I just wanted to give hugs to. And I would, if I could, but I think that would shake a little too many feathers. But I see men who I remember when I was a little girl, just broken, and it's impossible to see that. Because if my father, if it were the other way around, he would celebrate the life that you had as individuals. And one more thing I want to say, and I'll close. I know this is getting long. My father was very scientific in his approach to Islam. For him, it wasn't some trend that he caught on the bandwagon. It wasn't some, chance that he fell into. Islam was a science to him, and he was fascinated by science and the way that it supported our faith. And one of the things he always talked about was balance between two things, life, death. And he'd always point to that. And while he's gone, there's sisters who are pregnant, ready to have their firstborn, secondborn. And there's Leanne, of course. One thing I hate that he'll never be able to meet my children, whoever they are, but that's okay, we'll all be together. Just know that he had such a personality, and it didn't matter where he went. I mean, I don't know, he was such a joker. And my friend Shakira mentioned how she just wants to listen to his jokes, because he was such a funny guy. And I just wanted to talk about that. And then I wanted to end with one more thing. This is the first paragraph of A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens, which was my father's favorite book, besides the Quran, of course. And my father had a way of telling stories repeatedly, but he would tell them as if it was the first time he was telling them. And I thought he was going crazy. And I think part of it was old age, and he just forgot that he'd already told the story 10 times. But he would tell the story, Shayma, it is like Dickens' A Tale of Two Cities. And I was like, oh God, this again. And he would share memories of us as kids. You remember that time? I was like, yes, I've heard the story, But God, Anyway, I'm just going to read this because I think he made so many parallels between Dickens' book and life in general. And I think this first paragraph speaks for itself, and I will end there. Thank you for listening for this long. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom. It was the age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief. It was the epoch of incredulity. It was the season of light. It was the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope. It was the winter of despair. We had everything before us. We had nothing before us. We were all going direct to heaven. We were all going direct the other way. In short, the period was so far like the present period that some of its noisiest authorities insisted on its being received, for good or for evil, in the superlative degree of comparison only. Jazakallah khair.